Hello everybody, and good afternoon. Good afternoon, wherever you are, from whatever country you are or whatever city you are right now watching me. And I want to give you a wonderful welcome to Business and Corporate Talks. Welcome to this format, to this show, and we're going to have some deep insight right now together. So before we even start, raise your hand if you'd like your team to perform on a successful level. Raise your hand. Okay. I know you're raising your hand. That's amazing. And raise your hand if you also and you want even your team not only to be successful and perform in an amazing way, and you want also your organization to be perceived in the market as an authority and as an expert. Raise your hand. Okay. Yes. Great. So, first of all, let's see. Where are you right now? Maybe you have tried and you have brought trainings into your organization, and then the results were not what you expected, because maybe after 3 days, 1 week of that training, your team was not performing the way you wanted, which means you may have lost some sales, which means you may have lost some competition in the market, competitiveness in the market. Probably, you may have tried to restructure and tried to inspire and motivate your organization and your team, and they looked at you as somebody who was crazy. What are we doing? This new age stuff? We don't need that training. We need more technical practicality on how to get things done, which means probably some things which are not known and are unseen have not been dealt with in your organization. Potentially, you may have tried everything and still you are not dominating in the market. Actually, this may this may potentially mean that you are losing shares in the market. Now, stay with me. Now, where would you want to be? I would like you to imagine yourself and your organization having a better communication internally, which means that there's a better flow in the organization. See your organization and your company being praised and acknowledged externally, which means that now you've got credibility in the market. And visualize a moment where your company, your organization is the leader and is the expert in your industry. So between where you are right now and where you want to be, do you agree with me that there is a gap? So how can we close this gap? I believe that the unique solution that I have come up with after many years of working with corporates and working with some of the biggest organizations in the world, I have created this unique formula. And I believe the profitable corporate protocol can help you close this gap. Why? Why? Let's look at why. First of all, reason number one, you may have probably in your organization something happening, which is probably the fact that there's no awareness of what's going internally. Probably some people of your team may not know what are the roles, which means there's no flow in what you're doing. The departments are working as though they are by themselves. Why? Probably because right now in your organization, the execution of the plan, the execution of what you agree is not happening the right way because people are not stepping out. They're not stepping up. They're not taking responsibility. They're not taking ownership of the tasks. And why? Probably because also you may be losing shares in the market. Now, why now? Why now is the moment to put in place a profitable corporate protocol? Why now? Well, we are still in a pandemic. A lot of businesses have not yet recovered, and now is the moment to bring in a profitable corporate protocol. Why now? Well, because we are getting into a new level of crisis. Prices are increasing, inflation is going up, and there's total uncertainty in the market for what's happening around the world. And there's these waves of war. So now is the right moment. Why me? Why should you listen to me? Why should you spend this time listening to me right now? Well, let me share with you something. It's July 2011, and I've just been promoted as a director of an organization. Now I have under me a team of 240 people. And there I am, sitting on my nice black leather chair in the boardroom. And there is the call. And as I see the call, I'm afraid to pick up the phone because I know who is there. I grab the phone and I hear this screaming, loud voice blaming me for the drop down of sales. Have you ever felt a moment in your life where you became so minuscule, so small that you felt insignificant? I had dropped down 40% in sales compared to the previous director. In that moment, I felt so small. I felt useless. I felt like I lost track of my organization. The team was not respecting me. The suppliers were paying late. So not only we had a drop on sales, I was also losing the faithful customers who have been always working for the organization. And in that moment of being aware of what was going on, I had the courage to ask for help. I hired my coach and I started working on my organization. And then slowly, we started having our victories. First of all, I made sure that all the team was aware of what their role was and was aware of the targets. And now, slowly by slowly, we started hitting the weekly targets, the monthly targets. The team was happy because they knew what they were working for. And then, after 3 months of hard working, we were able to get back to the position and we recovered that 40% of loss in sales. And that's why I feel more than qualified in showing you a protocol, a system that can help your business and your organization thrive. For those of you who are watching me right now, type 1 in the chat if you want me to share with you the principles of this profitable corporate protocol. Type 1 in the chat. Okay? Now, I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show you a couple of steps that can literally help you in developing a profitable protocol for your company. Okay? So, the first thing that you have to put in consideration is awareness. And when I talk about awareness, a lot of times companies hire me, Corporations call me and say, hey, Moses, I need you to come and motivate the team. I need you to come and shake up the team. Well, let me tell you this. In the course of my work and working with the elite athletes, working with elite business owners, and working with the biggest companies, I've realized that it's not motivation that you need. You need awareness. Because the moment you are aware of something, that's the moment then you can then deal with it. But let's look at the step of awareness. When I talk about awareness, I've got a couple of questions I would like to ask you. Okay? When I talk about awareness, I've got some questions to ask you. So first of all, when we talk of being aware, let me ask you this. How healthy is your team? When I talk about how healthy is your team, I mean how mentally is your team stable? How strong mentally is your team? And mental health in an organization is an important topic that most of the times gets ignored. So how healthy is your team? And this allows me to introduce you a concept, the concept of, let's look at the internal aspects of your business. The internal aspects of your business. And then another question I want to ask you, how is the corporate internal interaction? How is the corporate internal interaction? What do I mean by that? What I mean is develop internal awareness. What is internal awareness? How is the communication effective in your organization? Are the departments talking among each other, or every department is working as though they are on different companies and different planets and from different areas? Is the interaction in your corporation going as one in a flow, or the interaction is totally independent? Every department is doing them whatever they want. The sales are just going on their own. Marketing is just doing their own thing. And then the finance are always stopping and blocking and not allowing things to flow. Based on my experience, these are some of the things I have noticed that go in an organization. All right? Then another question I want to ask you is, how aware are you of the external perception of your organization? So now this is external awareness. How does the market perceive you? How does the market see you? You need to be aware of how the market sees you. What is the market talking about you? What are your customers, are your clients saying about you? What are your suppliers saying about you? So this is what I call external awareness. And then the final question I want to ask you is, how is your team aware of the different roles in the company? How is your team aware of what are not only the targets, what are the goals, what is the vision of the organization? So this is why in my profitable corporate protocol, awareness is an important factor. Now, stay with me. We've got a second element. The second element is acceptance. So in my profitable protocol, in my profitable corporate protocol, the unique formula that I've created for organizations like yours, acceptance is an important element. Why acceptance is important? Acceptance is important in the terms of, once you are aware, is your organization putting in place an implementation plan? When I talk about implementation plan, I mean when you have gathered the data and you start working on it, how are you laying down the foundations for the change? How are you laying down those foundations? How are you getting ready for the transformation? When I talk about getting ready for the transformation, is the moment you get aware, you need to lay down the foundations internally, inside the organization. Is every department avoiding each other, running away from the responsibility, or now you are dealing with it? Because as human beings, we always come up with stories because we don't want to deal with something. We don't want to deal with a situation. Internally, externally, are you avoiding to face and talk to your customers? So when it comes to acceptance, we need to have the courage to, once we get aware of something, we need to get now to accept it. And when you accept it, we need to go and deal with it. When I talk about acceptance, what does your what does your organization and the members of your team need to become in order to go from point A to point B? We saw that there's a gap. What do you need? What does your team need to go from where they are to where they want to be? Who do your members need to become in order to achieve the goals that you set up for the beginning of the year? For those of you who are in UK, we have just started yesterday the new financial year. For those of you who are abroad, you have just finished now the first quarter of the year. Who do you need to become in order to go from point A to point B of your organization? Who do you need to become? What type of support do you need? What has to happen for you to go from point A to point B in your organization? You see, the moment you are aware, now you can accept what's going on. And when I say accept, I mean you can now face it. Another word of acceptance is facing it. And most of the times in several departments in your organization, sometimes people do not want to face or do not want to deal with certain things. Okay? Now, going back to our protocol, we have just seen now awareness, we have seen acceptance. Now let's move on and see what's the next one. The next step is action. When I talk about action, this means, how do you get things done? How do you get things done? How do you do them? How do you do your sales? How do you do your trainings? How do you do the follow-ups with the clients? How often do you make new experiments? How often do you test the market? How often do you try something new? Because if you're not trying something new in your organization and trying to implement and trying to innovate, you are still working with something that was amazing a couple of months, couple of years ago. But guess what? Economy has changed. Situations have changed. We are during COVID or post-COVID. The relationships, the interactions have changed. Now we have organizations which are working more from home and they don't want to go back to office. I was reading the other day an article of how Apple and Google, some employees are literally refusing to go back into the office. So how do you get things done in that moment? How do you try something new? What is your team afraid of doing? What actions are your team afraid of doing? I was training one time a sales company, and in this sales agency, deep inside of some people who are not performing, there was the fear of making the call. So guess what? They were just there seated in the office waiting for the inbound calls. But guess what? You cannot create revenue if you are constantly. You cannot make sales in your organization if you are constantly just seated down waiting for inbound calls. You need to also have a strategy, have a protocol on how to do outbound calls. how to have the courage to take action. So in the profitable corporate protocol, it's important to be aware, to accept, and then once you accept, now you can take the right actions. Now you can get things done. Now you can get things on rolling and going to the right direction. Okay, so stay with me. Let's get ready for the next one. The next one is assessment. What is assessment? Assessment is measuring. How often do you ask for feedback in your organization? How often do you ask for feedback in your organization? When I was the director, I used to make this terrible mistake. I used to think that I had all the solution, but I wasn't the one who was doing the 100 calls a day. So sometimes before you come and bring in a new implementation or a new way of doing things, a new flow, you need to be able to be aware and ask for feedback in your organization, because your team who is doing that on a daily basis can give amazing feedback. And one single feedback in your organization can increase a couple of percentage points in your sales, in your revenue. How often do you get feedback from your clients? From your best clients, how many times do you assess, sit down, and ask them for feedback? Because at the end of the day, they are your consumers, they are your customers. Asking feedback from them is the best way to get things done and to increase the revenue. Okay? And then another question I want to ask you is, where do you get your feedback from? Where do you gather your data from? In the process of assessment, you need to gather data. So you gather data internally. You speak to your organization, the members of your organization. You gather them externally. You need to get feedback from your suppliers, feedback from your clients, feedback from the people who didn't buy. Yes, I teach this to the companies. It's so powerful to ask feedback just for our own internal process. May I know what's the reason why you didn't purchase, so I can better your experience? From 1 to 10, would you recommend this? From 1 to 10, why didn't you buy? And then getting the feedback from them will help you improve your sales process. Okay? And then, especially in your organizations, when is the last time you measured the results and the performance? Is your team oriented always in improving, in progress, in growth? Or they're comfortable with, oh, okay, I did this, fine. I've been doing this for the last 3 years. I've been having the same results for the last 3 months. Well, if your team is having the same results for the last 3 months, guess what? Your business is starting to die because there's no progress forward. Okay? And then, talking about the profitable corporate protocol, there's one final step I want to introduce to you. One final step. And this step, I've been introducing this recently in the organization when I do the trainings. Because as you can see, awareness, acceptance, action, and assessments, they are irregular. Now, in the middle, there's something that I'm going to bring in right now for you. Look at that. There's another A in the middle. And guess what is this? This is authenticity. In my profitable protocol, in my profitable corporate protocol program and formula that I teach the companies, there is the final step, which is authenticity. What is authenticity? Authenticity is something which is really, 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 really important. Okay? How are you clear with your values? How is your organization clear of what are the values of the company? How are you clear with your identity? How are you clear about your identity? Identity as an organization, internal identity and external identity. How are you clear about your culture? With your culture, what type of culture have you got inside your organization? Does that culture reflect the values of the company? Does that culture reflect the value of the organization, of the founder? Do your customers reflect in your values? Or they just come and purchase once and go and bye-bye? This is one of the things which has made Amazon be successful. Among their culture, among the value, among the identity of Amazon, there's the customer satisfaction. Sometimes Amazon doesn't even want you to explain why it didn't work or why you're not happy. They will either refund you or they will send you the same product or they will refer you to something else. Customer satisfaction is the identity and the culture, for example, of Amazon. Okay? What has to happen for your organization to be the leading authority in your industry? When we talk of authenticity, what has to happen for your organization to be the leader? What has to happen for your corporation to be seen as the expert in that field? What has to happen? So I'm asking you a series of questions that can help you understand how you can go from point A to point B in your organization, how you can move from point A to point B in your organization, how you can take care of your organization to another level. Profitable corporate protocol. And let me just remind you a couple of points. Point number one, awareness. Bring awareness in your organizations, internal and external awareness. Acceptance. We need to go and face and deal with things that are inside and out of your organization. Action. Be ready to take the right steps. Be ready to move forward. Be ready to try, to experience, to experiment, and also start learning how to delegate. Assessment. Are you asking for feedback? How are you asking for feedback? What do your clients and customers say and talk about you? Authenticity. Is your team matching the values of the organization? Or they're complaining, arguing, fighting among departments? Is your organization, is your company a leader in the industry and in the sector they are in? So I know leading an organization is not the easiest thing. I know. And because I know this, I am passionate of helping organizations. And most of the times, I don't come to help organizations in the technical, mechanic parts. I come and help them on the invisible part, which is mindset, which is attitude, which is performance. Because once your team gets into this successful formula, your organization has got a profitable protocol that will keep on bringing results after results after results after results. And finally, you can tap into your authenticity as a leading company in your industry, in your market, in your country. So if you want to know more about this profitable corporate protocol, because do you know what? At a certain point, you may want to hire me. At a certain point, you may want me to help you create this protocol in your organization. So if you are interested in anything, just drop down a comment. Tell me what you think about this. And if you need any help, just reach out to me or my team. We will be more than happy to support you and to help your organization go from where you are to where you want to be. So this is all for now from Business and Corporate Talks. See you next time when I will show up again for another topic and for another live intervention, and we talk about your business and your corporate organization. My name is Moses, and I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to make sure that your company, your organization gets to the level that you created it or that you are part of it, and to go to the next level and face the challenges that are gonna come ahead of us. Thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your evening. Stay strong and see you next time. Ciao.